So I just want to talk a little bit more about ski jump nails and spade shaped nails. You can see by the diagram that I've drawn here that they are an unusual shape, but they are also a very common shape. Sometimes people will come to you and the nails will be either bitten and be ski jumpy, or there will be some free edge. If there is some free edge on a ski jump nail, the ski jump of that free edge needs to be cut away. The reason for that is because the angle of the nail juts up too much. Now I'm just going to show you my nails here. So if you look at my ring finger here, you can see that I have got layers of gel on, but you can see that there's no natural curve going downwards. It's all still going up. The thickness that you can see there is just of the gel, but it mimics this diagram here. Can you see? It just goes upwards. So when you are creating a nail extension, they are tricky to do. So there are a couple of tips and tricks that you can follow that will help you create a better look of nail for a ski jump nail. There is I'll put in a link for the YouTube video that I've done as well, but it isn't for a soft square, it's for a Russian almond. So what happens is when you get a spade shaped nail, you get a nail that is narrower at the top than it is at the bottom here. So first and foremost, it's always very difficult. The nail becomes very hippy and this becomes the widest point here. And when you put your form underneath, you've really got to make sure you pinch underneath, not at the end of the tab when you're doing a soft square. Pinch it tight underneath so that it becomes, the tube of the form becomes parallel and follows these lines here. Okay, that's the first tip to make sure you're getting the sleekest nail possible for this type of nail. Secondly, cut as much of this away as possible, because that will also affect the angle of the way that the form tilts upwards. You want to leave about 1/2 mil if possible. If you move over here, what happens is if you don't take away that free edge, which is left here, you can see that the angle of that slope increases even more so, and the form is only going to follow that. If you try and change the angle of the form so that it comes more straight out like that, you'll end up with a massive gap in between the free edge and the form, and product will go down there, and that will cause a ridge and cause surface breakdown. So the only way you can stop that from happening is by cutting most of this away, and the angle becomes slightly less steeper. If you don't, this is kind of what happens. You've got that form that comes all the way up here, and then because you're creating a long nail, you've got to come all the way up to the top, and we're missing an apex. It's just one big slope, and structurally that's just not sound, especially if you haven't pinched it. Okay, so you want to look to make sure that the form does come down just a little bit more. So this is an inaccurate way of creating a nail extension on a ski jump nail with a form. Moving down here, the free edge here has been cut away. I don't know if you can just see this section here. That's the nail. I've taken away the free edge, so the angle is just slightly shallower. So this means that your form will sit on a slightly less steeper incline, which will help you. Again, make sure that your channel lines between your lower arches are nice and parallel coming out that way. And also you're looking to create a slightly higher apex, and you can do that by sitting it further back at about 30 to 40%, which is about here. And you can see now then that it juts out quite nicely, and it's not quite so sticky up. There'll always be an element of it sticking up slightly with a ski jump nail. It's a very difficult nail to get to look elegant, but this is a way of making sure that the nail is as sleek and as structurally sound as possible. So tip 1, cut away as much free edge as possible. Tip 2, with the form, make sure when you're doing a soft square you just pinch it nice and tightly underneath the free edge area, not at the end, otherwise we're going to make that too tapered. Okay, and then when you sit your form. The form, when you're looking at the profile just here, it wants to either be coming straight out or slightly upwards, okay? And that will depend on the amount of the length of nail that you're going to go creating. The shorter the nail, it probably will tilt up just a little bit more, okay? So the longer the nail, it might need to come down just a fraction. I hope that makes sense, but that's just a little tip and trick for you girls to help you with ski jump nails.